Bro, we live in the times where it's totally different from like having big homies. School, you set you down. Guys said ain't no rules to the game. But in anything where your life is in the involvement of it, it has to be rules because there's some type of consequence. For years ago, for us hustling, the consequence was every little nigga from another block, had to fight to stand up for his block to earn his name. Every nigga that hustled earned his way on the block from a corner, from a lookout to a pitcher to running the hole. You know what I'm saying? To like being in the house counting the money, to making sure at the end of the week dishing out the pay. Came a consequence that when indictments came down, your name was gonna be in that shit. When everybody was going down Rudolph, Cinderellas and all that shit, and they had knockers working in there, and motherfuckers popping rubber bands were coming in like, yo, give me them. What side? Your side, you wanna try them on? Nah, you know what I'm saying? There was a remembrance of they the ones getting the fucking money. Nowadays, man, everybody like chasing a buck, trying to figure out a way to take care of themselves. Youngins like gotta feed their moms, you know what I'm saying? Gotta feed themselves, got little chicks like they looking out for and they little team, and the only one and the sisters are like, nobody ain't trying to go to jail. But then they come up with a circumstance and say, well, you can hustle, we ain't gonna lock you up. But then they think the condemnation of communities is not gonna fall. Anytime there's no economy in the community, there's no money being generated to come back into the community, then the plight is gonna come. When we was in the street hustling, man, we helped out and paid people bills, Homies stayed in houses, all the rents and shit like that was contributing to that shit. The bills was put up, the lawyers was paid for, you know what I'm saying? Everybody played the part to make sure that persistently, like, that shit ran. Certain block stick-up boys came on, they was the big homie, like, yo, time out, hold up, bro, what y'all grade do? Nah, we ain't doing it. Yo, get your such and such and you ease that beef off. You know what I mean? Where today, man, motherfuckers going with the feds because the city been indicted since the 90s, been known as a heroin capital. You know what I'm saying? Park Heights was one of the first communities that had a sign level on it that said, welcome to this community in Northwest Baltimore, Park Heights community. This community is federally indicted, you know what I'm saying? At Park Circle entrance, you know what I'm saying? And at Northern Parkway entrance, we gotta like know the shit, but we gotta know the history, right? That there's a time when at Park Circle that you could not be over in there a certain amount of hours without someone claiming or you having a resident like identification saying from like what property you were, and most people of the property were from the Drew Hill plantation, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta like know this shit, man, you know what I'm saying? We gotta like go back, research and look at shit, man. They always say people come up traumatized, right? That I remember that going to Malcolm X, you know what I mean, fighting. I remember going to Dr. King, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers coming from Green Spring and we little homies in the hood, they think they could bully motherfuckers. Then you had like certain brothers and, there was certain groups of niggas that anybody that like, other than those groups from out of like Shirley Mall, Spring Hill, to Wanders, Virginia, Woodland, Paul Mall, Oswego, Cottage, you know what I'm saying? All that shit, like McCullough Homes, Murphy Homes, 725, 770, Saratoga Street Building, 131, Egan, McDonald, like there were certain individuals who had certain groups of dudes that motherfuckers, they fought and had to do that shit. So like today, like motherfuckers say they don't fight no more, right? But the consequence, we gotta bring something back because like there should not be all the beefing because the beefing is fucking reckless. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers ain't beefing over hundreds of $1,000s. Motherfuckers ain't beefing over $15,000. Motherfuckers ain't beefing over $2,500. You know, because the sale priority of the economics is $3 and $6. So you talking about $3 is 12 quarters. You know what I'm saying? You talking about that shit is 300 pennies. You talking about that shit is 60 nickels. You know what I'm saying? You talking about that shit is 30 dimes. So, you know, every sale that motherfuckers make, this is the value concept out of that shit. And the value concept that if motherfuckers go to work at McDonald's or Amazon or all that shit, you know, that you gonna make way more than that shit. You know what I'm saying? And the concept that like, I always say like, first of all, it got to be growth, development, and change, right? There got to be a process where you got to intriguingly have a respect where dudes see the worth of you from who you was to what you doing now, and that shit is a benefit plus, right? And most of the guys that like still stuck on fucking communities fucked up is because they were the same individuals that were stuck in communities fucked up then. You know what I mean? They say, we used to say, no guts, no glory, hustle hard, go home, right? And you gotta hustle hard to go home, man, because like, in everything you do in life, there's a hustle, right? In this nonprofit shit, I gotta beat the pavement to run around to help suffice and get dudes as ex-offenders to show probability that if I can get one or two dudes and change in the 90 days, connect them to some services, get them a job, by the time the fourth month had them applying to like opening a bank account and paying the first month rent for their house, right? Then that shows the probability there's a benefit, right? Then we show up with our active partners, Out for Justice, CPP, Job Opportunity Task Force, Maryland Justice Project, MOED, Northwest Career Center, Center for Urban Families, you know, and we provide the bus passes and we seeing like dudes going through in a year later, you know what I'm saying, that probability their lives change. There's like over 50 dudes that I can go on Facebook right now, tag them in on my shit, that all came through the systems of our network, right? And they doing well for themselves. Some got businesses, some started their own little side business, some still working, some had, you know what I mean, majority, most of them all have their places. So like, when you look up at people who getting millions of dollars in funding and got all these plate table, brand name, publicity, always on fucking TV, but yet they haven't showed y'all one family that they network support and helped in the community. You know what I'm saying? Their lives have gotten better. But then when it's time to like give a prolific answer how to change the condition, they always say, oh, we're coming up with a 5-year plan and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna bring community workers and they're gonna do this, and then you see nothing happen. You have motherfuckers that come on TV and say, man, within the first year, we're going to change 20% of the shootings in the city. First of all, no one's going to change any shootings in the city until the economy, the people, the plight, and the food desperations are well back to established modality where everybody in the community has the opportunity to shop, live, and be peaceful and pay their bills. You know what I'm saying? So like, until those things happen, none of that shit is gonna happen because some of that shit is generational. Some of that shit is about little dudes have now 16, 18, they got possessions of like hammers, you know what I'm saying, that's coming in from like federal reliefs, you know what I'm saying, with police officers selling that shit in the streets off duty and all that shit, that like, the armed forces coming in, leaving shit. You know, we all seen the process when we was at the protest. Like, we watched the state troopers take a cement company, drop a stack of bricks, and pay some dudes $200 to run around and bust fucking windows, and we caught them. You know, we settled it down, you know. So, like, man, you gotta think about, man, that, like, in doing this process, you gotta look at what really needs to be done, man. You know, like, you have to understand that in the statistics of Baltimore, right, there are 22,000 inmates locked up in the Maryland State Penal System, right, which they say now 1,850 because they ain't been locking nobody. 18,500 claim been locking nobody yet, right? But out of Baltimore City alone, you have 7,799 individuals that are incarcerated right now, right? Each year, right? 64% of those individuals were unemployed before they went to work, right? 83% of the city is arrested for convictions of CDS or some type of distribution involvement, right? Of the 83%, 37% was convicted before the age of 25 and had no GED, right? 30% of individuals who are released back into the same community that they was arrested in. That's a high risk, high target, and focus on repeat offenders with no resources in that community. And within a 1-year prime status, they said if an individual is not connected at that time of release to resources within the first year of that 30%, 71% will be rearrested with a new charge by the time the first 90 to 180 days. You know, Baltimore City has a recidivism rate, and most of y'all who don't know what recidivism means, recidivism means a door that revolves, or people that rotarily goes in and out of this one matrix system, right? So it says 73% of Baltimore is based upon to return to prison within their lifetime, you know. But the thing is, when you have families that come from a convicted, when you have children that's growing up in a convicted household where majority of 80, or I ain't even gonna say 80%, I'm gonna say out of 5 people, 3 of them have been arrested, where mostly in a household of 10 people, 7 of the people have been arrested, right? That there's a probability that youth will be arrested in some time or point. There are certain laws and structures that have been put in place to make that system work that way for that individual to be caught up in it. So the first process is the school to prison pipeline, right? Basically, the school to prison pipeline is where educationally looking at mental health, looking at aggression, looking at attitude, looking at complicity of critical thinking, and based upon that, if a suspension comes into play of starting by the 3rd or 4th grade, that they do a maximum algorithm that says by the time this child reaches 18, that if he is being suspended or put out, that there's a 99.1% by the time to 18, he will have a handgun charge, he will sell drugs, he'll be using drugs, and because of need in using drugs, based upon experiences that he's seen in his family, that he will do the same thing, but just in a time or spill that's greater than it was when his family was coming up. So we have to think about, man, Jim Crow still exists, you know what I'm saying? Convict labor is at an all-time high. Private entity prison is investing with partnerships like Walmart, Amazon, Ross's, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, PNC, Chase Bank, All these names I just gave you, these are the individuals that absolutely invest in the private prison industry. So we gotta think, man, that like, in order to live humble, in order to live successful, in order to live above the means of being stigmatized, you gotta find out how to identify yourself and live without a stigma. You know, so what we do at Hope Baltimore, man, is people's lives matter, right? We influence to give hope. We influence to help oppressed people excel on a monetary base of investing in human wealth, right? Why we invest in human wealth? Because when we invest in human wealth, we build a community. When we build a community, we bring in economics. When we bring in economics, we create opportunities. When we create opportunities, we create resources. When we create resources, we give a pathway for the future of our children to have the obsolete, less advantages of things that they will have to fight that we had to fight for, so that they can just go through and directly know exactly what it is they need. Baltimore City is in the condition that it is in because you look up, there's no rec centers. The policy people took away the rec centers, they closed down the schools, they got schools falling behind educationally, you know, then economically, there's no jobs for the parents to work. You know, everything is warehouse industry, just like it is in MCE and in prison. And a lot of times people always say, like, my uncle said to me, man, why do you stay on talking about prison and being locked up when you've been home 8 years, man? You should leave that shit behind you. And I said, bro, as long as I'm still on paper as a convicted felon, then there's a probability that money is put up to endeavorly say that one day that I will be rearrested. And out of that, we will continue to make money. This is the reason why they came up with suspended sentences, right? Greatest, slickest game ever, right? You get a suspended sentence where you get convicted, right? So you have a sentence carrying 5 years. They say you want to go home today, we'll gradually suspend your sentence, give you 12 years, 5 years probation, 3 years probation, because they know probability in 3 years, 36 months, right? That there's a probability that you may do something or be with someone that they have been watching for the last 8, 9, 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, right? And all it takes for them to stop y'all, run your name, and it comes up that you're on probation, and bang, they got you. Now, we can write it off. We put you down for 12 years at $39,000, but we suspended it and decreased it to $3,500 for parole, for probation fees, right? Now, what happens is when you get resentenced for your probation violation, along with whatever the charge is, they run the charge consecutive, meaning that you may get 5 years for the charge, and they say you got the backup time, which is a 12-year sentence. We're going to run it consecutively, you get 17 years. So, which could have been applicated and say, listen, we're going to give you the 5 years running into 12. You only had 12. You've been out 3. You had 3 years suspended sentence, so we're going to take the 3 off that, which brings you back to 9, right? No. We're going to start you out with the 5 first, times 39. Then we're going to implement the 12 as a separate order, the 12 times 39. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to advocate the day that you was arrested and start your time from right now. So, without of those 2 convictions that actually was 1 conviction, you know what I'm saying, winds up putting you in a subsequent barrier code, putting you in a subsequent guideline, which actually makes you a resident for an enhancement sentence. So, You go into prison, something kick off. You had to defend yourself. You had to like protect yourself or whatever, right? Police run down on you, shake your cell down. They put a dude in your cell. They find a knife. You have to remember you in a poor category based upon conviction standpoint because you are already in enhancement level because 2 convictions. Now you got a weapon you charge. So this puts you in another category, which makes you a high risk offender. This is why like a lot of people really, I kept saying to them that they got me classed as a high risk offender for charges that I solely went to prison for selling narcotics. I got caught with 2 handguns, beat one of them, but I got caught with 2 knives in prison, and I got caught with receiving narcotics on a state facility of 4 grams, right? I got caught with 4 grams of raw back in 1999, right? Based because this charge was done in a prison, they charged me with receiving narcotics on a state facility that put me on a star monitor watch that says that I was a threat to institutions, that basically because I got caught with knives and had an assault, you know what I'm saying? Once again, I'm a high risk offender because I'm a threat to the inmate population based upon certain things that go on. Then population control, they said that I had to always be monitored. So we would go into certain jails. I would wind up going on administrative. Like when I got sentenced in 2007 and received my 30 years, before I went into population in WCI, I went on administrative. You know what I'm saying? And these are the correlations that you had to do because they say they had to see if I was gang affiliated, if any beef was going on, or whatever. And I say, bro, you ain't got to do nothing but put me in population. If it's a beef going on, we gonna deal with the shit. I ain't never been in a gang, I ain't never been nothing. So one day the SGTs come in, major curriculum prison shakedown, right? They call all us into the rec hall. Inside the rec hall, they basically said, such and such, such and such, such and such, such and such, such and such. I ain't gonna name no names, right? And one dude said, yo, why they ain't call my name? They said, because you're not in this book. He said, no, I'm supposed to be in there because I'm such and such, such and such. They say, well, according to the residents of investigations of how we do things, you're not a threat, you're not in this book, your name is not on this list. You're not the one. So in the probability of that, they packed us up, put us on administrative, and one by one, they sent us out to different jails, you know what I'm saying? Based upon that shit, man, you know, it took me time to sit down in another jail out of state to basically look at my shit that I was fighting and find a way to get back in court, you know what I mean? Because when you look at this shit, this is suppression of superseding of power, of control stigmas, of therefore saying that you're a slave. That's when I really realized that from the way the slaves used to run from the plantations, they fenced them off and identified, marked us by things that keep us mindful. That's why they do counts every time you move. That's why they do counts every time there's a switch in the jail. They do counts every time someone new come on the tier. So all this shit is to keep a count on where their money is. It's not about keeping account for where your safety is and none of that. Second thing, you had to really with food apartheid, right? Prison meals cost $3.20. So for each meal, it's $1 and like 10 cents, right? Or $1 and like 7 cents, right? Then you have to look at each quarter project that you look at costs 43 cents. Man, listen, a human necessity needs to live off of something better. But you're a ward of the state, you're an inmate, so the value of who you are is dehumanizing. And there used to be a saying that they used to say, oh, here you should say to me, Sure, you know why, like, they lock all of us up? Because they give us the opportunity to live in society as citizens. But then, based upon us living in society as citizens, we don't follow the contingent rules. So since we can't follow the contingent rules, we'll feed you, we'll clothe you, we'll educate you, and we'll give you the amount of clothes that we think you should have. So a lot of times, you know, people, at one point in time, you know, you can get a 10 cent thing, you know, dudes wearing Nike Airs, Air Maxes, Jordans, all that shit, right? Where today, you know, you have the order from the concept of warehouse clothing that they are invested in, you know, Walker Hearst and all. Some of those shit I never even heard of. East Bay and Cinderella's and Downtown Locker Room and Foot Locker, like, was not able to make a resonated contractment where they could ship and receive to them. So you either had the order from East Bay, which was high shit, and East Bay started the thing where your families could order and they would directly send you the package. So then they came up with Walker Hearst, which is a warehouse company, family organized thing out of Hagerstown, and now is a collegiate partner with the whole Division of Corrections. Keefe is something that was a family organized commissary that was familiarly like sold, and now is a partnership with all investing partners in Division of Corrections to be a part of it. So, man, until we learn these shit, man, you know what I mean, you gotta know. Know that there are certain legislations, House Bill 222, with a right to vote for ex-offenders that are convicted felons in and behind the wall and out the wall. You know, Alpha Justice Hope Baltimore, Maryland Justice Project, certain delegates, we fought on that bill. You know, House Bill 525 is Corey McCrae's bill, which me, Nicole Hansen, and the guy Daryl from Job Opportunity Task Force, and Life After Release, Chantel, we all beat that shit. We beat him. You know what I mean? We wanted to put drop boxes throughout the whole Division of Maryland. He only wanted to do in the Central Bookers. You know what I'm saying? Man, know that there's great work being done in Baltimore, and we have to absolutely know who the workers are. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the money and the publicity doesn't show you who the worker is. You know what I'm saying? The money and the publicity show you who's being invested in, and they're paying themselves. You know what I mean? It's a extortion process. Know that there's most organizations that's a physical sponsor, that's networking the physical sponsors, over 60-something organizations that are now in project mismanagement, and they can't do the work. And primarily, they're not hurting the organization, they're hurting the community where those organizations are supposed to serve. You know what I'm saying? While people are having big elected dinners and doing shit at Johns Hopkins and doing shit at Morgan, but yet, contingently, where is the economy, poverty, struggling people that need these resources, that these people get $100,000? You know, I took $10,000, man, in my first year, and I serviced over 35 individuals. You understand what I'm saying? Out of 35, 20 of them got jobs, 12 of them got their places, which we all support and helped and paid the first month rent for, right? The next year, I got 5,000, I got 2,000, and I serviced over 18 guys. So the thing that I'm saying, that if Hope Baltimore was to get an acclimate of $50,000, there's a guarantee that I could take $1,000. You know what I mean? I'm not even gonna say that, because the cost provision of 6 months of really helping a person costs $3,400. That's what it costs. You know what I'm saying? So I would need $7,000 a year to actually get a person in where he needs to be, because you have to think about that. If this person is not working and his rent is $750 to $900 a month, you talking about anywhere from beginning at $8,400 to $12,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? That's just the housing piece. We ain't talking about food. We ain't talking about phone bills. We ain't talking about cigarettes. We ain't talking about clothing. We ain't talking about none of those things. That's just somewhere to lay his head. Now, in the first 90 days, if we can actually get housing for them, and get them a job, then there's a guarantee by the time the 6 months, they can provide for themselves. So this is how we continuously support the help, you know what I'm saying, to help guys, you know what I'm saying. The active benefit that I look at is trying to provide each individual with a piece of money. That grants coming as a contingency grant, putting it all together, not giving it to them, but setting it up for the resources that they need. So in the longevity, we can come up with quality, effectiveness, and real sustain and self-worth. And with that, that's how we do it. That's how it gets done. That's how you build hope. And that's how hope changes lives. And with that, I'm Antoine, the founder and director of Hope Baltimore, lead advocate, high risk coordinator. Peace.